What would you do if your father stood up at Thanksgiving and declared loud enough for the wine glasses to tremble, "You've never given this family anything"? Because that's exactly what mine did. It wasn't a scream. It wasn't even angry. That's what made it worse. It was calm, cold, delivered like fact, like gospel. Everyone just went quiet, except the clinking of forks and the soft background hum of holiday jazz. No one defended me. My mother looked down at her plate like she'd suddenly found the stuffing fascinating. My sister Amber took a sip of her overpriced Cabernet and glanced at the ceiling like she didn't hear a word. And me, I was still standing, still holding the tray of roasted turkey I'd basted, marinated, and timed down to the second. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. I just turned and walked out. No screaming, no dramatic declarations, no shattered wine glass for effect, just quiet, heavy echoing silence. But that silence wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of something I didn't know I had the courage to do, the beginning of letting go. Growing up, I wasn't the loud one. I wasn't the star. That was always Amber. Amber, the cheer captain. Amber, the straight-A miracle child. Amber, the daughter whose piano recitals got framed photos and social media posts with hashtags like Proud Mama. And me, I was the one who made sure the sink was empty, the one who got good grades but didn't make a fuss. I was the reason the laundry didn't pile up and the errands didn't get forgotten. But no one put that on the fridge. I wasn't jealous. Not exactly. I just shrank to make space. Someone had to. While Amber got road trips and shopping dates with Mom, I got handed grocery lists. I got praised for being low maintenance and mature for my age, which is family code for you won't complain when we forget about you. I bought my first car with part-time wages and leftover scholarship money. I never asked for help. I didn't make noise. I didn't fall apart. Even in adulthood, I played the same role. I didn't rebel. I didn't shout. I just worked, and I gave. Quietly, obsessively. Like my worth depended on being useful, and maybe, just maybe it did. Because the moment I started making real money, the family suddenly remembered I existed. It began with Amber. Just a little help with her last semester of college. Then Mom's kitchen really needed updating. Then Dad had some unexpected dental work. I told myself I was being a good daughter, that it was temporary. But temporary turned into monthly. Thank you became silence, then expectation. I paid off Amber's loan. She never said a word, just forwarded me the deposit request for her next apartment. When Mom finally got the granite countertops she'd been dreaming about for a decade, she smiled and told her friends, "We finally did it." We know. I did it. Quietly. Without credit. Without complaint. My father once looked me straight in the face and said, "That's what family does," as if love meant hollowing yourself out so everyone else could stay full. They never asked how I was doing, never asked if I needed anything. They didn't even remember my birthday last year, but I remembered, because I bought my own cake and sang myself happy birthday over takeout sushi. So that Thanksgiving night, when Dad stood up and said I'd never given this family anything, something inside me broke. Or maybe it didn't break. Maybe it clicked into place. I realized something I'd been avoiding for years. If I vanished from that table, they wouldn't notice until the money stopped flowing. And I was finally ready to find out what that felt like. I didn't slam a door when I left. I didn't cry in the car. I drove with the windows down, cool November air biting at my skin. No music, just silence, not anger. Something colder, like a curtain had finally dropped, and I could see the stage, the whole thing, the roles we played, the scripts they wrote for me. Supportive daughter, silent helper, walking wallet. Not anymore. When I got home, I took off my shoes, set my phone face down on the counter, and opened my laptop. And then I got to work. Amber's tuition autopay paused. Her rent transfer canceled. The emergency credit card Mom kept just in case disabled. And the lake house, the one they loved to post about on Instagram, all cozy lakeside vibes and family first hashtags. That house had been running on my dime for 5 years. Utilities off, mortgage support gone, let them figure it out. This wasn't revenge. This was release. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I was just done being hurt. The first 3 days after I walked out, silence. No calls, no texts, not even a passive-aggressive emoji in the family group chat. And for a brief moment, I wondered if maybe they hadn't even noticed. Maybe I really had been that invisible. But by day 7, the panic arrived. It started with Amber. Of course it did. First, a breezy, fake casual message. Hey, weird question. Did something happen with the tuition account? Then I just got a notice. It didn't go through. I'm going to lose my spot. Can you check it? I stared at the screen. My heart didn't race. My fingers didn't tremble. I just typed one sentence. Thought I never gave you anything. I hit send, turned off my phone again, and waited. The calls came in waves. 2 from Mom, 1 from Dad, 4 from numbers I didn't recognize, probably Amber's friends or her boyfriend. Then a voicemail from Dad. This little stunt of yours isn't funny. Your sister's future is on the line. You think this is how family acts. I laughed. For the first time in weeks, I actually laughed. A full, raw, honest laugh that came from somewhere deeper than spite. Because yeah, this was how family acted, at least how they did. Conditional love, performative concern, financial extraction. They weren't mad because I left. They were mad because I stopped funding the illusion. That night, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my tiny balcony wrapped in a blanket. The air was cold, but it felt good, alive. I looked out at the city, the blinking lights, the quiet traffic hum, and I wondered how long would it take them to completely unravel without me. Spoiler, not long. It took less than 2 weeks for the cracks to show. I hadn't heard anything after that last flood of angry messages. Just silence again. But this time, it wasn't accidental. It was deliberate. A tactic. Freeze me out. Guilt me into crawling back. It used to work. Not anymore. Then came the email. A formal notice from the university addressed to me. Technically, I was still the guarantor on Amber's tuition agreement. They were initiating withdrawal proceedings for non-payment. The same day, I got a text from my cousin Claire. Are you okay? Your mom called mine. She says, you've abandoned the family. That word, abandoned. It curled in my stomach like something sour. Is that what they were saying now, that I'd just vanished, that I'd flipped a switch out of nowhere? Not that I'd covered Amber's rent for 3 years. Not that I drained my savings for kitchen remodels and dental work. Not that I helped save the lake house when no one else would. I didn't abandon anyone. I just stopped performing. Claire texted again a few minutes later. I've seen how they treat you. You don't owe them anything, Elena. I stared at that message longer than I expected, because Claire, quiet, observant Claire, had always been the only one who saw the things no one else did. And that message, it landed, because maybe that's what hurt the most, all those years not being seen. That weekend, I gave myself permission to breathe. I went to the farmer's market. I bought tulips for no reason. I sat in the park and watched people read Laugh Walk Dogs. I didn't check my phone once. When I got home, I made dinner for one. Roasted salmon, asparagus, a little lemon zest. I lit a candle, sat down, and ate in silence. Not lonely silence, peaceful silence, sacred. The kind of silence that said, this is yours now, and it's enough. Meanwhile, the house I'd grown up in was turning into a panic room. Claire started sending little updates, not gossip, just glimpses, warnings. Dad had apparently missed a payment on the second mortgage, the one I didn't even know existed. Mom was calling cousins asking for short-term support. Amber had already withdrawn from one class, blaming unexpected financial disruptions. And still, not a single apology, no ownership, just chaos and blame. They were rewriting the story. Elena's unstable. She overreacted. She's being dramatic. But they never talked about the years I showed up, the bills I paid, the dreams I funded. They only noticed I was gone when the money stopped. That's the thing about being invisible in a family like mine. They never see you hurting, but the moment you stop helping, they scream. The lake house had always been a symbol, at least to them. It was where family memories happened, Cookouts, 4th of July, fireworks, posed photos with hashtags like grateful and family first. But to me, it was a transaction, a 5-year reminder that I was the only one willing to keep it afloat. A haunted relic I kept alive month after month out of some desperate hope that if I saved it, they'd finally see me. The roof leaked, the pipes groaned, the taxes were always late. Dad had threatened to sell it more than once, waving bills like a weapon. If no one cares enough to save this place, then what's the point I cared? Or at least I told myself I did. So I paid, quietly, every month. No thank you note, no family plaque. Just the occasional, "You're such a good daughter," whispered like a currency exchange, followed by another request the next week. But after I walked away, after I turned off the faucet, I couldn't stop wondering, who actually owns the lake house? I pulled up the county records website, typed in the address, held my breath. There it was, my name. Not Dad's, not shared, not co-signed. Mine, sole legal owner. I sat there staring at the screen mouth, slightly open heart, slowly sinking with this impossible new rhythm. They'd put it in my name years ago, said it was for the tax benefit, said I had better credit, said it would help with the refinance. They never thought I'd remember, never thought I'd look, never thought I'd use it. But I did. And for the first time in this entire tangled mess, I felt it. Power. I called Daniel, Claire's old friend, a lawyer, the kind with a calm voice, steady hands, and zero tolerance for emotional drama. I sent him everything, the deed, the payment receipts, the emails from Mom where she called the house your investment. He responded within minutes. "You can sell this tomorrow if you want. You're the sole owner." I didn't respond right away. I sat in my living room, still barefoot with the TV off and the city quiet outside. And then I made the decision, not for revenge, not to make a scene, but to reclaim something that was always mine, something they used like me without care or credit. I booked a flight back to my hometown, quietly, under a different name. No one knew, not even Claire. The lake house sat at the end of a gravel road wrapped in fog, the kind of early autumn morning where even the trees felt like they were holding their breath. The siding had faded, the shutters sagged. I stood on the porch for a full minute before unlocking the door with the spare key, the one they never thought to take back. Inside, it was staged. Framed photos of Dad and Amber fishing, Mom arranging sunflowers, the blessed wooden sign still above the fireplace, not a single picture of me. I smiled, not bitter, not broken, just done. I took out my phone and began taking photos. The porch swing, the lake view, the kitchen they remodeled using my drained savings, all for the listing. By nightfall, Daniel had what he needed. The house was ready to go on the market. It meant everything to them. But for the first time, it meant something to me, too. A clean break. The listing went live Monday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, 2 full-price offers had already come in. Both couples adored the charming lakeside nostalgia. Neither had any idea about the rot behind the drywall, emotional and otherwise. I didn't tell anyone I was selling. Not out of secrecy, out of peace. But peace doesn't last long when your family is built on expectations disguised as love. That Wednesday evening, I sent one final message in the family group chat, the same chat where I'd been muted emotionally long before I ever left it physically. You said I never gave this family anything, so I'm finally giving you what you always acted like you wanted: distance. No more tuition, no more emergency bills, no more house. Sell your own memories. I'm out. Then I did what I should have done years ago. I left the group chat, blocked every number, turned off the faucet for good, let them try drinking from a dry well. Silence lasted exactly 48 hours. Then the news reached them. Claire was the first to call. She didn't even say hello, just launched into it breathless. "Elena, your dad just called my mom. He's freaking out. Something about the lake house being listed. He's furious." I didn't flinch. I didn't even sit down. I smiled. Slow. Quiet. She hesitated. He said, "You betrayed the family, that you blindsided them." I looked out the window. The sky was soft with early dusk, the world muted in blue and gold. "They never saw me, Claire," I said. "How can you blindside people who never turned to look at you?" What followed was an avalanche. Voicemails from Mom beginning with guilt and ending in desperation. Angry texts from Amber. "Why are you doing this? You're breaking everything." A final email from Dad's subject line. "This isn't over." But in my world, it already was. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one scrambling to fix things. I wasn't patching leaks or smoothing over damage. I was just still. And in that stillness, I saw clearly they didn't miss me. They missed the version of me who served them, the one who paid, the one who stayed silent. That version was gone. I hadn't planned to see them again, not in person. I'd flown in for one thing, to sign closing papers on the lake house. The buyers were scheduled to walk through Saturday morning. Daniel, my lawyer, would meet me there. No drama, no witnesses, just one final, clean ending. Or so I thought. That morning the sky was sharp and cloudless, the kind of crisp air that slices through sweaters and straight to the bone. I parked at the edge of the gravel drive, stepped onto the porch, and breathed in the scent of pine and damp leaves. The lake was still, the wind quiet. Then I heard it. Tires crunching, doors slamming. I turned. A familiar rusted SUV came skidding to a halt in the driveway. Dad stormed out, first face, red mouth, already moving before his feet hit the ground. Amber was behind him, pacing. Mom trailed last, arms crossed, tight, face pale. They saw me on the porch, and I saw them, all of them. But this time I didn't shrink. I didn't flinch. I stayed rooted. Dad marched up the steps like the house was still his, like he had a right. "You really think you can just take this from us?" he barked. I met his eyes, calm, steady. "It's not yours to take. It never was." He scoffed. "We built this house as a family." I nodded slowly. "No, you decorated it. I paid for it. Every tax, every repair, every single month." His mouth opened, then shut, like the words punched the air from his chest. Amber stepped in next. "I've had to drop 2 classes, Elena. Do you even care what this is doing to me?" I turned fully to her. "I paid your tuition for 3 years, Amber. Your rent, your books, your groceries. You never once said thank you." She opened her mouth, but no sound came. And when Dad humiliated me in front of everyone on Thanksgiving, you sat there, silent. "I didn't know what to say," she whispered. "You didn't need words," I said. "You needed a spine." Amber looked away. Her hands were shaking now. Mom finally spoke, her voice soft. "You're throwing away your family. Over money." I shook my head. "No, I'm letting go of people who only saw me when I was useful. I was never your daughter," I added. "I was your ATM with a pulse." Her eyes brimmed, but the guilt never came. Not in me. I was done confusing sorrow with sincerity. Dad's voice rose again. "This is petty, spiteful. You'll regret this when you're alone someday." I reached into my bag, pulled out the folder, thick with receipts, contracts, timelines. Inside, a copy of the original agreement, the one he signed when I took over the mortgage. His words, his signature, his deal. I handed it to him. "You signed it," I said. "You forgot." I didn't. He took it with shaking hands, read the first page, went silent. Amber was crying now. Mom stood frozen, and then Claire arrived. She stepped from her car, holding a thermos in one hand, and nodded at me like we'd rehearsed this our entire lives. She'd brought the notary. We were ready. The buyers pulled in next, a retired couple with kind eyes and hopeful smiles. The husband waved. Beautiful morning for a fresh start, isn't it? I looked back at my family, still reeling, still stunned, still speechless. Then I nodded. Perfect day for it. They stood frozen on the porch, watching strangers walk into what they still called our home. But the truth, it had only ever been mine. I had just let them live in the fantasy that it belonged to all of us. That family meant shared burdens, shared memories, shared love, but love without respect. That's not sharing. That's theft. Inside the house looked smaller than I remembered, or maybe I had just outgrown it. Daniel reviewed the closing documents while the agent walked the couple through the kitchen, smiling and nodding at their questions. Claire stood beside me, steady, quiet. A notary signed the final page. It was done. I stepped into the living room one last time, the same spot where Mom once whispered, "You're such a good daughter." I didn't take a last photo, didn't save a keepsake, didn't cry. Instead, I turned back to the front door. My father still stood there, arms crossed, jaw locked. Amber clutched her phone like she could undo the past with one text. Mom looked away. I met their eyes. "This isn't revenge," I said softly. "It's relief." Then I closed the door behind me and left them on the porch outside of my life, outside of my peace. The papers were filed, the money wired, the lake house was sold by the end of the week, and just like that, the house and the version of me that haunted it was gone. But the story, they weren't done trying to spin it. A few days later, Claire texted me a screenshot, a Reddit post, anonymous, carefully written. "My sister abandoned our family during a crisis. I'm a full-time student. She cut off my tuition without warning. We don't know what happened. She just changed overnight. The username was random. But I knew. I knew her phrasing, her rhythm. It was Amber." The post had already raised a few $1,000s. Sympathetic strangers flooding the comments with love money and outrage. Claire messaged, "She's monetizing the fallout." I didn't rage, didn't curse, didn't write a call-out thread. I opened a private folder on my laptop labeled Proof. Inside screenshots of every rent payment, every tuition transfer, every textbook order, grocery receipt, and emergency deposit. All in my name. All from my account. I uploaded them to a private cloud folder. No names, no attacks, just dates, numbers, evidence. Then I left one quiet comment beneath the Reddit post. "Before you donate, maybe ask where the previous $720 went. Some people forget who helped them. Until the help stops." That was it. No drama, no explosion, just the truth, whispered where it mattered. Within 24 hours, the post was removed by moderators, flagged for suspicious activity. The comments shifted. Sympathy turned to skepticism. The story finally slipped from her grip. For the first time, Amber didn't control the narrative. I did. A month later, I moved. Not far, just enough that no one could drop in without notice. A quiet loft with creaky floors and a window that caught the best afternoon light. No family photos came with me. No inherited guilt. No emergency savings labeled in case Mom calls. Just me. And June. A cactus I bought for the windowsill. Because finally, this space, this life, it was mine. The emails stopped. The calls went silent. The panic faded like a bad signal finally cut off. And with it, so did the ache I thought would never leave. I didn't forgive them, but I didn't carry them anymore either. That was enough. One Saturday, Claire came over. She brought homemade soup in a mason jar, warm hugs in a sweatshirt, and a small envelope. Inside, a single Polaroid, old, grainy, sun-faded. It was Is, me and Claire, 9 years old, sitting on the dock at the lake house, legs dangling in the water, laughing like the world hadn't yet taught us to shrink. On the back, she'd written, "You've always given more than they ever saw." I saw. I cried, not out of grief, out of something deeper, recognition. For the first time in years, I felt seen, not as a paycheck, not as a problem solver, just as me. A week later, an email came from Amber. Subject, I don't expect a reply. Inside, I just wanted to say, "I'm sorry. I get it now." No paragraphs, no explanations, just that. I read it once, then again. Then I archived it. Not out of bitterness, but because I didn't need her apology to feel whole. I already was. I walk more now. I cook for myself. I leave my phone on silent, and not out of defiance, but peace. My home smells like lavender. My floors creak. My cactus. June leans toward the sun. Some days the silence still surprises me, but it doesn't scare me. It frees me. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a role you never auditioned for. Sometimes distance is the gift, not out of punishment, but self-preservation. My family thought I'd come crawling back, that I couldn't live without them. But they were wrong. They couldn't live without the version of me who poured herself out until she was hollow, and she's not coming back. So, if you've ever been the invisible one, the one who kept the lights on the wheels turning the piece intact, but no one noticed until you stopped, know this: you were never wrong for needing more. You were just tired of being seen only when convenient. Have you ever walked away from a family that only called when they needed you? What did that silence teach you? Tell me in the comments. Share your story. And if this hit close to home, like, subscribe, and join me again, because sometimes the most powerful revenge is peace.